Hey guys, some gamer dude here. So yeah, we're going to make this an actual podcast thing. I really don't have the time or patience to script anything. I could probably make the time, but it's so flipping hot at the moment. I really do not want to sit in front of the computer for terribly long. Today the topic is living card games and why they don't seem to do so well. Now, a comment a while ago I got on this channel, I think it was on an update video, was a really nice commenter saying, oh, why don't you look at living card games if you're really over booster packs? And I did. Most of them don't seem to be terribly healthy. They have a devoted fan base, which is all you actually need to live. But you're going to have a bit of a problem finding somewhere. You might be lucky and have a locals where it's really popular, or you're stuffed. More so than any other card game. You're down to fan project type Dragon Ball Z tier at this point. But I went into it and looking around and I asked people and everything, why don't these do well? Because if you don't know the difference between a living card game and a trading card game is inherently abusive. You are buying a lottery ticket. You might win, you might get garbage, who knows? It's not an investment, it's a lottery ticket. Living card games, or expandable card games, whatever the producer wants to call it, because I think Fantasy Flight has the copyright on living card games. We'll just call them living card games for easier memory. Living card games, you buy a box, you get every single card in the set. You might not get playsets, so you might have to buy multiple of the box, but you do get everything. And there's technically enough for multiple decks. This doesn't sound bad at all. So, and you get new sets every couple of months instead of every few months. They're smaller sets, but you get everything in the set. There's no worry about, gotta pull it, and there's not terribly high amounts of filler. Because that's another problem TCGs have. Tons and tons of filler. It's a really bad problem. And TCGs also have problems, especially Bushiroad. Bushiroad is the worst for this, where you really need the most expensive cards to get anywhere. No budget Vanguard players, you are wrong. There is nothing playable about any real grade 3 or less at rare or common. Super rare, you're going to have Buckleys. Triple rare is where the magic happens. And this goes for all the G units, I believe. Again, I stopped playing in G2. I just phased out during 3 and 4. But, the TCG market is inherently abusive. The living card game is slightly abusive, and then you have to buy it multiple times, but it's not a big deal. It's like, okay, well now I have more cards to play with. Or if you want to build different versions of the same deck, which, you know I do. I'm the guy who has 2 Saiyan and 2 orange decks in Dragon Ball. You got those cards. Unless the card you needed multiple of is for one of the things you want to play. At which point you're Buckleys, because living card games typically don't have singles. Anyway, why do these games not do so well? Well, there's a few reasons. One, and I think the most notable, is no one actually likes card games. I know that sounds like a really dumb comment, but it's partial truth. Partial truth as in, playing the game might not actually be what everybody likes about the game. There's a significant amount of every community that's there to pull good cards or win good cards and sell them for a profit. They're not exactly the brightest people, because strictly speaking, most people will not make a profit after what you account for the money acquiring it and travel and whatnot and eBay fees if you do it that way. Most people do not make a profit. They'll come even or lose money. But this is what they like about it. They like their cards having value. The way a living card game is done, nothing has value. There's no secondary market of real existence. It's straight up, go to your card store, buy the box. Boom, done. You're over. There's no hunt. And people like that hunt. I assume a lot of them are kids or dumb or don't understand that trading card games are a lottery, and lottery is taxation for the idiots and the poor. But yeah, people like that taxation on the idiocy and the poor. I do get it. Trading card game, sorry, not trading card games. Living card games really don't also cater to the types that like to bling out their deck the same way. That there's no hunt. But I think it actually goes deeper than this. If anyone's actually curious, the most successful living card game type game seems to be the Versus system at around 5,000 active interested players. There's probably a lot more when you account for people that don't actively engage in the community but play it casually or just go to the card shop whenever it's on and play it. But 5,000 worldwide is a very low number. I sourced this from the... I sourced it a while ago. I've just jotted it down in memory because this topic was originally meant to be a proper video, but I never finished the script. It was sourced from the Facebook group. It might be different now. I might be off by a bit. It might be 3,000. I'm not sure offhand. I don't have the script on me because it's on a phone that died and I haven't gotten around to taking the memory card out and salvaging the data. But yeah, that's pretty much the most highest one. But there's more than just, I want to card shark. There's also the fact that very few of them have very nice packaging. People go, oh, packaging, what's that got to do with anything? Well, it's what draws you in. It's what tries to sell the game. Go look at the Versus one. Do you know what a Versus is? Do you know what it's about? It's got no Marvel characters on it. It's a bleak, ugly piece of packaging. When you go to... what's it called? The Cyberpunk one. I think it's also designed by Richard Garfield. I forget, it's the one that was actually recommended to me, but I forget offhand. Its packaging is ugly, dreary. It suits the theme, but it's ugly, dreary, and no one would be interested in it. It's just, let's see. There's a phone. I can find out what it's called. Yeah, it's got ugly, dreary packaging. It's just, no one would buy it, and this seems to be the prevailing thing. No one in their right mind would look twice at these this packaging. Yeah, it's not the bright, bombastic TCG player ones. Netrunner, that's the name of the game, Netrunner. A lot of TCGs, go look at the boosters. They have bright, bombastic foil packaging. They scream what they are. They have pictures of characters on them or really cool artwork. And everything's just like, I am here, buy me. Where the living card games are like, I exist. Apparently. Notice me, senpai. But that's another part of it. No one knows they exist. No one wants to care when they see it. It's just like, no one knows. It doesn't advertise itself very well. And no one's going to notice it in the shops. And they aren't sold in normal shops. You have to go to a card shop, and even then they're put out of the way because everyone's just embarrassed by their existence. It's like the ugly girl sitting at, or the ugly boy sitting in the corner because no one wants to go near it. It's like, no, I don't care that you have a nice personality. Looking at you makes me want to vomit. Now, I know that'll actually put a very big damper on people's opinions of me, but it's it's the best analogy I could think up on spur of the moment. No one wants to look at it. And I think the final thing that really gets them is most living card games aren't as, I guess you could say, newbie friendly as a TCG. TCGs are usually designed to be relatively simple, easy to pick up, and you get used to it pretty quick. Easy to learn, maybe hard to master, but generally the only hard TCG to learn and become competent at I can really think of is UFS, the Universal Fighting System, which also has really, really low numbers when you look into it. The world tournaments are really, really small, and it's only played in a few countries. It's a game that we might talk about later on, but there's reasons why it doesn't do well. But it probably doesn't deserve to do as badly as it does. But again, it's one of those small games. It does it well enough to exist, and apparently it's enough to get just go decent numbers and enough to still produce it. But it's not a household name, and it's not well known amongst the TCG community. It's like, oh, there's a fighting game TCG now? No, it's existed for over a decade now. And, yeah, again, we'll talk about it later. We'll stick to living card games. So, most of them are basically rejects that are too complicated and involve way too much to be a TCG, but they still have a right to exist type deal. I think only Epic Battles, I think it is, that Timmy Magic ripoff, gets anywhere near. Well, this is like a TCG, but it's printed like a living card game. It's not popular, no one knows what it is, and it doesn't actually, there might be the argument that it needs to exist now with Magic going down the crapper. But yeah, living card games really don't do well because the art design is horrendous. There's no good real way to profit off them from a player standpoint, and the games just aren't, well, for lack of a better term, good. These are all the reasons that I've found from players who have tried them out, say that they just don't catch on. The living card game way of buying cards is fantastic. It's what I think everyone that is just a player and not, and they just have the card game playing it at heart would want. But maybe that's not a huge part of the community. Maybe a really huge part of the community is people that want to make a quick buck off cards, even though they're probably not going to unless they're quite clever, and the types that just like having money in their collection for when they sell it. They don't feel that they're paying for the experience of playing the game. They feel that they're paying for an item that they can sell off at profit later on, which I hate to tell you, most of the time you're not going to, because most games are rotation, the card's useless in the expanded format, the expanded format's not played, or it's power crept out of existence by value. So you know exactly the prize person there. But I think it's the future that a lot of players want, but again, I don't think players are necessarily the majority of TCG players, or at least people that are active enough to go to tournaments, because we all know that casuals make up a huge amount of people. But then we get into the packaging problem. They don't know what these games are. They don't see them. They don't give a shit. It's like, what is this? They don't know. And then they're sitting like, ugh, I say. And then it's way too complex to play, or it takes a lot of devotion to learn. I think if you made a living card game that operated like a TCG, it was simple to learn, fun to play, hard to master, and made packaging really bombastic and in your face, and 90s as hell, and just grabbed you by the ears and screamed at you like a lot of TCG packaging does, you'd probably get a lot more people interested. And you'd have to give decent price support. I think, I think you'd probably have to cut out online sellers to try. Actually, this would probably help LGSs too, because as a comment on my last podcast said, LCGs are suffering. LGS, sorry, local game store. Yeah, they're all suffering. My favourite one wasn't really local to me, but it was a 45-minute train trip. But it was a really good one. Closed earlier this year, and it bummed me out. There's a good one about 15 minutes away from me, but it really only plays Western games and Pokemon, or plays the games at night, and I don't really want to be out at night. My brain stops working much between certain hours, and most of the ones near the city or in the city just don't interest me. And it doesn't help the market's just not very good for me at the moment. As in that I don't like many games. But if you could make sure the card stores had a profit off your product, it was bombastic enough to actually cater to people and make them sit up and pay attention to it, and it was a fun game that was easy to learn, I think you'd be onto something. And I think that's what living card games need to sit up and notice. And I actually have to wonder if all these little companies like Jasco would actually make more profit if their games were simpler to learn, had honestly better packaging. Although I think Jasco's packaging is all right, I just think it needs to be a little bit brighter and louder and scream at you what it is and why you should buy it. And there was adequate price support for LGSs. Because I think that if you put the profit cards as the prizes, like Dragon Ball Super's doing, I know it's hurting the market a bit because it's made the game really expensive, because the promos are stupid amounts of money, but if you did that and made them one per deck type cards, but made them like top 3 and everyone else like gets food or something, I think you could have a winner there. I don't think the TCG design is necessarily needed for profit. I just don't think anyone's done living card games right yet. Anyway, enough of my rambling. This has been Some Gamer Dude, and I'll see you guys next week.